Hey, Divi Nation. I am BJ, and I am here with all of the best news, tutorials, and resources that you need to make this week in WordPress the best that it can be. All right, guys. Hope everybody's Friday is going really well. This is a strange week for us here in Alabama. I know that we just got a ton of snow for us, about 2 inches for those of you around everywhere else. So, like my wife has been off for about the last week. I've been doing exactly the same thing as I always do, but was able to play in the snow with my wife and dog, and that was awesome. I certainly hope that your week has been just as fantastic and awesome. So, with that in mind, since this is This Week in WordPress, if you've been doing anything fantastic on WordPress this week, had a fantastic anything that's going on, a fantastic project you've been doing, anything at all, share it in the chat. Let's talk to each other. Let's help each other out, and really let's just get some conversation going as we move down the list of articles. If you've never joined in before, if you've never watched, the way that this tends to work is I have a whole lot of articles that have been put together this week under news, tutorials, and resources under those headings in the description of this video. I'm just gonna talk about them, talk about stuff that you guys bring up over the course of the broadcast, and just kind of talk about everything going down. You can follow along. You can click through any of the links that you want to. You can give all of the content creators who did this stuff a little bit of love for putting this kind of stuff out there so that we can have this kind of conversation. So getting started. Also, hi, Torin. So let's get started moving through the news and see how everybody is doing. So the first thing I wanted to talk about this week was actually something at Elegant Themes here. We published a new update this week that I think is going to be absolutely wonderful for you guys. This is our new interactive help module. And I should say module in that it comes up whenever you hit the help button. If you look under the news section or go to our blog or just update Divi, you'll see that there's a help button in all of the windows now in the visual builder. And if you click help, it will bring up the corresponding video of what you're working on to help you through it. So we had Jason and Nathan and Mac and everybody going through making lots of new documentation videos for this. So pretty much everything is as up to date as we can have it. Make sure that if you're running through this or with a client that you need to show them something, it is right there. So as you hand this stuff off, I think that this will help your clients transition as well. So make sure you check that out and make sure that you update Divi so that you get that and don't run into any kind of roadblocks, because we want to make this as smooth a process and fun a process as we can for you guys. So that's big news for us, for us and you, I think, because I know we've all been looking at a module, just kind of staring at it and be like, I don't know why it's not doing this right now. Well, you can click the help button and we will literally tell you why it's not working in the same window. It comes up in another purple box like every other settings module. You can move it around while you're working in the visual builder. So cool stuff. I agree, Matthew. That's awesome. Torin said that they started working on my campaign site for the local elections that we got coming up in just over 100 days. That's awesome. Is it a Divi site, Torin? That's fantastic, working on election sites. I was thinking about recently when I saw a really terrible campaign site that I was like, oh, we can make a prettier one than that. Maybe we need a political layout pack one Monday. So you hear me, Kenny? But that's awesome. I would like to see that. Of course, it's Divi. That's awesome. So I also wanted to talk about another update just really briefly. It has nothing to do with Divi in particular. WordPress 4.9.2 was released this week, and all it is a security and maintenance release. Let me click in here so that I can actually go through all of it, because mainly there were some security issues, JavaScript errors that prevented saving posts in Firefox, things like that, get category links and category descriptions that were messing with taxonomies, that kind of stuff. We all should update. It's not a major, shouldn't break anything, but it'll make your WordPress installs way more secure. Kostas just asked in the comments on YouTube if we have any LMS templates. Yes, actually, Kostas, we do. If you search the blog, elegantthemes.com/blog, I can't remember what the actual URL or anything is for it, but we did release learning management system template layout pack. Thank you. Someone in the comments got it for me. I'm assuming that's Nathan, so appreciate that. There you go, Kostas. So now that that's handled, moving further just a little bit along, I can't go through a news section on this any week without mentioning, it's Jason, without mentioning any Gutenberg things. So there was only one real Gutenberg article that I saw this week, and I wanted to put it in the news because that's usually where I always put the news. Put Gutenberg, rather, is in the news. And the article that WP Lift did was, will Gutenberg kill WordPress page builders? Not so fast. It's one thing that we hear a lot is Gutenberg going to kill Divi? Is Gutenberg going to kill Beaver Builder? All this. And no, it's not. It's talking a lot about this article and why it's not a replacement for a page builder. It's talking about that how eventually Gutenberg is going to get different columns, and it really goes through a lot of likely scenarios where it may knock out some people in the page builder market, but more than likely what it's going to do is force all of us to evolve. But it brings up some really interesting ideas, I think, on how the page builder economy is going to be able to integrate with Gutenberg. But I couldn't go an entire week without mentioning the G-Berg, so I just had to get that in there. So this week really wasn't a huge week in news. It's kind of crazy that not a whole lot came out. I mean, we have our new help stuff. WordPress 4.9.2 was released. But one of the biggest things is not even remotely WordPress specific, but desktop server was released this week, and desktop server 3.8.4 was released this week. And since Google bought the .dev domain, the top-level domain, people have been having issues because a lot of local sites have been running on it, and they're being forced to HTTPS. And now desktop server actually bought the .dev.cc top-level domain, so that if you're using desktop server, you're not going to be having to worry about the HTTPS stuff. So make sure that you update so that you can use the dev.cc extension, or TLD rather, and actually not worry about all the issues that the .dev was giving us. So have fun with that. If you've run into issues and you've moved to local by Flywheel or anything like that from desktop server, it is an option that may give you a fewer headaches than it was. Raymond in the Facebook comments said that Divi makes me easier to design and create websites. Loves Divi. We love you too. That's awesome. I'm so glad that it makes your life easier. Let's see. There we go. That has nothing to do with anybody in YouTube. They're discussing the learning management system layout pack that's on the blog. Thank you, Jason, for finding that link and getting that for everybody. So the only other thing in the news section, like I said, it wasn't a big news week, but it was talking about Cats Who Code went through a kind of a list of HTML and CSS features that are going to be implemented across browsers this year, including a native dialogue element where you can, it works in Chrome and mobile right now, where you can basically bring up new dialogues. CSS scroll snap points, talks about new variables and support queries. If you're a front-end developer, you should probably look at these as they're coming up for the next year. Coming up this year, rather. So that's really all of the news that I saw this week. Not a whole lot of big stuff. It was crazy. There's not been really any kind of major hacks like there were last week for us to talk about. There weren't things like brute force attacks and cryptocurrency stuff. It was just, nice security updates, a nice gift for the dev.cc, and we put out the new help module. So that's really fun. I'm glad to have these kind of chill weeks, not to have to worry about anything controversial. It kind of makes the Friday afternoons work go just a little bit easier. So for those of you who are just joining us, I just finished up the news section of the This Week in WordPress stream. What that is, if you've never joined us or are just joining us and forgot from last week, it's where we go through news, tutorials, and resources that were published this week in WordPress so that we can have a discussion, see what's going on, and just get to know each other and just look at what the world of WordPress is looking like this week for each of us. Before I move into the tutorial section of things that I found, Torin says that it is 8:13 there. It's 2013, the local time, and it's 2:13 here. So, man, already 8 o'clock. I'd already eaten dinner and been all cozy in my jammies at that point. I'm jealous. Also, Gene, hi Gene Coaster from the Netherlands. Coaster, I hate messing up people's names, but hi to the Netherlands. So moving into the tutorials, WP Shout published a really, really cool article on how to customize your WordPress sidebar. This is something that every last one of us needs to know. They talk about a lot, like the way that they put it is the sidebar and the widgets in the sidebar are one of the main reasons that a lot of us ended up coming to WordPress. That I know when I moved from Blogger back in the day in like 2008, maybe 2009, whatever, whenever 2.7 was the WordPress, I moved in, and it was widgets and sidebars that made me come specifically to this software. So it's something that I've paid a lot of attention to over the years, is how to actually make use of this space. And they're going through a lot of different ways on WP Shout on just very quickly showing you what to do using the new customizer. And I wanted to bring this up because if you guys haven't done this in the customizer yet, it's a really good time to do it because the WordPress core team is really pushing use of the customizer. You've probably noticed that there's a lot more in there for Divi options lately as well, and they really want to us to use it, and for theme developers and plugin developers to use the customizer. So under tutorials, there's a WP Shout link that's just called how to customize your WordPress sidebar that I really think you ought to check out. And with that said, hopefully all of you guys have realized that the description of this video has the link to every single thing I talk about on here. So if you want to follow along, click on a link, give some love to the people who are making this content so that we can talk about it every week at 2 p.m. Central Time. Do that, and you can, bookmark all of them. These videos are also going to be on Facebook and YouTube. After the broadcast here, they're saved and archived, so you can go back and watch other segments, and you can always go back and find these big lists of links all the way back to, I want to say, August of 2017. So they're oodles of links for you to be able to go through whenever you feel like it. Looking at the comments, there have been some comments coming through. There's no theme from Divi is working on my WordPress website. It gives you a CSS error. Bogdan, could you please be a little more specific? I'm sure somebody in the comments will be able to help you. That was from YouTube. Said that there's a CSS error with Divi on their website. So hopefully someone in the comments will be able to help with that if we can get a little bit of specific information. Our team's an expert Divi and lead generation for Divi. Okay. Let's see. Let's move into the next tutorial. Again, there were quite a few tutorials, but again, not quite as many as usual this week. One of the things I wanted to go through was at the near the bottom of the tutorial section was how to switch your WordPress site from HTTP to HTTPS. And they use a plugin called WP Migrate DB Pro. Don't you just love these plugin names? Like, I know the reason that all of these are called this way. There's SEO in the in the repository, and slugs are unique but titles aren't, and so you end up with plugins like WP Migrate DB Pro, and it's such a mouthful to actually say this stuff. So but this plugin does really good stuff, and I've used this myself, and when I saw this article come up, I wanted to just kind of talk about it because migrating from HTTP to HTTPS is kind of a headache if you do it wrong. It's really easy and really simple if you do it right, but sometimes there are not redirects. Sometimes things mess up, and you have assets that aren't entirely secure. So you have images that won't load. You have CDNs like Cloudflare that say you have insecure content and won't push it on through. And so I really wanted to bring this up because just using a plugin like WP Migrate DB Pro will let you do it where it will move everything over to the new site URL because you're moving from an HTTP to an HTTPS. The actual URL of your site is changing. You should also, with that in mind, look at updating your Google Webmaster Tools and your Search Console profile when you do the migration because you might lose some sort of analytics that way. Not that I'm speaking from any kind of experience on that, but maybe you should look at it. But basically what the profile does, the plugin rather, is update your URLs in your WP config PHP, and it also goes through your actual database and finds and replaces all of the protocols in there. It keeps you from having to use SQL queries, which are terrifying to a lot of people. So I certainly hope that you'll look into plugins like this and make sure that your site is secure and SSL compliant, because like I was saying last week, I think it was last week, this week is kind of blurred together because of the snow, like I mentioned, with my wife being at home, and that's not usual. It just felt like one long weekend that I was working. And so it's very important. Google makes sure that you want that you have your site secure, or it will not necessarily penalize you, but it won't rank you as high. So, which is a penalty in and of itself. So look at that. That's in the links under tutorials, and then a little bit higher on my list, there is a link that WP Lift did called One Page Design, that the pros and cons you should know about. And this was a discussion that was going on in a Facebook group, one of the WordPress Facebook groups earlier last week, I believe, where it was talking about whether or not you want a one-page website. That, the one that starts at the top that you can click and go through different sections all the way down. And there are really pros and cons that you can have to them. Like, I really like one-page websites that it gets your message across to your users. I mean, it goes through all of this where, it's simple navigation. It tells your story. You don't need as much text. You can concentrate on design. You can have really, really unique designs that are going to make you stand out, but it kind of messes with analytics. It kind of messes with scrolling, and some visitors in UX don't like some visitors don't like their UX that way. They don't like the experience. SEO can get a little messed up sometimes because you don't have the huge sitemap to index. And sharing individual content can be a little difficult, it says. But I put this under tutorials because this was something that I want you to think about, that I want you to be able to take kind of as a how-to on looking at it, on this is how you put one together and this is why you would put it together. Torin says in the YouTube comments, someone told me that site visitors don't like scrolling down too far. And that is specifically, Torin, what the discussion was about, because their client was complaining about having to roll the scroll wheel so much on their mouse as they went down. I had that issue today in just writing an article. It had nothing to do with a one-page website, but because the article was so long, it was about 3,000 words, that while I'm on my laptop, I had to actually move my hand like this to get to the bottom of it. And so just being that far, just being scrolling like that is kind of a pain. I mean, it can be a real issue for users, because for me, I was like, maybe I should just copy and paste half of this and do it in 2 separate documents because of scrolling back and forth up and down it. So it was interesting to me to see that in a different context. But yeah, a lot of it is scrolling too far. And on phones, we don't think about it a lot. One-page websites tend to work really well for mobile because, you know, you're scrolling anyway. You're just kind of hanging out. You're like, oh, look at me, I'm just doing this. But when you're on a computer, you constantly, you know, you're used to something ending. And Current Media Group actually says in the comments here that they don't like infinite scroll for that same reason. And I agree. I hate infinite scroll. I don't know why. I will take a long website as long as it ends. But a lot of times the information that I'm looking for when I go to a new website is held in the footer, and this does away with footers. So it messes with navigation. Even though the page navigation is simple, the overall navigation, I don't have any idea where to find some of it because they don't have a menu that's fixed that comes down. It's just kind of crazy how we look for different things, but that's something that I don't like either. Current, I really don't. See, looking at the comments, just running through here. YouTube Power says, ask why Divi's not compatible with some plugins like Easy Digital Downloads. Well, it's compatible, but it looks ugly in some CSS. Mainly, I'm not a developer, so I don't actually know where the issues come in with that. We're working right now, just in general, every update on trying to make the builders a little less CSS reliant. We're working on every update trying to have as many of the controls in the builder as we can so that doesn't happen. When it's a secondary plugin, it gets really hard for us to actually implement without doing CSS unless they use default classes and IDs. Well, no IDs, but default classes, standard classes. Something you may want to look into when it comes to plugins like that are some of the third-party Divi developers like Divi Space, Divi Donuts, Divi Cake, places like that will often have modules built for Divi that work with specific plugins. Like I know that Caldera Forms has a specific Divi plugin, the add-on extension that works to make Divi and Caldera Forms play nicer together. So that's something that you may want to look for and see if someone has, like Easy Digital Download, something that has been specifically coded to make those two stop butting heads and instead be besties. Other than that, we can't support every third party, but we want to be able to make it as easy as we can. If that doesn't sound too PR-y, we hate that, but we are working on trying to make, like I said, the builder as cover as much stuff as we possibly can. Excuse me. So moving forward into the tutorials, I just wanted to point out the ones. I'm not going to actually go into a lot of detail on this, but I wanted to talk about how Smashing Magazine put out an article on how you can understand sizing in a CSS layout, because one of the things that people are really big on the internet right now, like I've seen a ton of articles over the last few weeks about Flexbox and Grid, and Smashing Magazine has put out a lot about the length unit, and it talks a whole lot about EM, REM, pixels, VW, VH, and if those aren't something you're familiar with, look at this article. If you are not using, specifically in my mind, VH for CSS, for sections, then look at it for VMin, VMax. These are all awesome because they are relative lengths, relative sizes. And Smashing Magazine does a really good job of breaking this kind of stuff down. And like I said, I wasn't going to go into it, but then I get myself excited thinking about VH. It brought this up, and this is something, again, that I've seen coming up in some of the Facebook groups. People are asking about like width of hero sections across the page, or how to make something stay this much of the page and constantly go down. And a lot of that is, I use VH and VW a lot for the view width and view height, viewer height, view width, because I tend to like sections, full screen sections, full viewport sections, and that's what VH does. At 100 VH, it fills up 100% of the computer screen, whatever they're looking at, whether it is a phone screen that goes from here to here, or a laptop monitor that goes that is like 4K, whatever it is, your page will fill 100% of that height. And with the width being whatever else, you can do a VW 100 as well. And the same for fonts, using them as EM and REM for the relative font unit. If you have a font that is 2 REM, that is 2 sizes relative to the default body size of that font, which also is great for mobile first design, so that you can have things on a wide variety of monitors and viewports and screens and sizes without it looking gross. I learned about these the hard way about a year ago when I was working on a book festival website, and I had this just absolutely beautiful layout done. And this was before I did Divi, so I know Divi would have actually made my life a little easier after this. I'd put this together, and it was great, and it fit. It looked exactly like I needed it to, and I went into one of my wife's coworkers' offices, and I saw it on the big iMac monitor, like 27-inch monitor, and it was this big. I'd been designing on a 13-inch MacBook, and there were like easily 80% of the screen was blank, and then it was like the column was right in the very center of it. And I did not understand VW, REM, anything at all at this point. So I went and I dug hard into new CSS that I didn't know about at the time, and that they took me by surprise. So with them coming up right now, with them coming up with Grid and Flexbox and all of this being really popular in the way that things are going, please read this Smashing Magazine article so that you can really understand where this is coming from. And like it says, it explains a little bit better than what I can. If you set the HTML element to have a font size of 20 pixels, 20px, 1 REM, one relative element measurement is 20 pixels. If you have 2, then it will be 40 pixels. If you have 10 REM, it's 200 pixels. Maths. So you can look at that stuff. It's really, really good, and you're not going to escape at this point. If you're doing WordPress design, you have to do it. So look at it. You have to. This is the teacher in me giving you homework. Read the Smashing Magazine article, people. Read it. Looking at the comments. Hi, Anil. Hi to India. Hi, hi to the bottom of the planet. Divine Kiwi. I was gonna ask if you're in Antarctica, and then I saw Kiwi in your title, in your username. So hi, New Zealand. So I hope that I didn't think about that as being the bottom of the planet, but it essentially is, isn't it? So thank you for that. Because that's. Oh, excuse me. I just threw water everywhere. Did you guys see that? I took a drink, trying to do it too fast, and water just like fountained up. So moving on, I want to take this I want to take this moment to welcome everybody who's just joined in. Thank you for joining us on This Week is WordPress. This week is WordPress. This week in WordPress. But for a lot of us, this week has been WordPress as well. This is a stream that we do every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is roughly 20 o'clock wherever Torin lives. And we talk about everything that has been going on in WordPress this week, from news and to new tutorials that were put out to just resources that I thought were really cool and I wanted to share. So we're in the middle of the tutorial section right now, and I just kind of wanted to give you a reset, let you know who you are, and welcome you to the stream if you've never been here before, and welcome back if you have. I would also like to ask if you've been working on anything this week that you want to show off. You can tell what your week in WordPress has been. Get people to share what's going on, and let people see how awesome you are, so that we can all talk about it. Hi, Michael. Hi, Iowa. And Torin is in London, so that's fantastic. Hi, I'm not going to make any terrible London jokes or use an accent or anything, because that would just be terrible. And you're welcome for that. And hi, Tejas. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but hi, Gandhi. I can pronounce that. Hi. So moving into the rest of the tutorials, I wanted to point out the understanding and using REST APIs. This is another one from Smashing, and if you haven't heard me talk about Smashing Magazine before, like I just did, read them. They put out such good stuff. The REST API is new-ish into WordPress. We really got a lot of it in 2017, and it's only going to become more important. It's basically letting you interact. What it does is let you interact with your server directly from the front end of your website without having to pass through anything. You can directly interact with your server, and you need to learn how to do this. The way that they describe it is, let's say you're trying to find videos about Batman on YouTube, which of course you are, and you open up YouTube, you type Batman into a search field, you hit enter, and you see a list of videos about Batman. Awesome. We're good so far, because I like Batman videos. And a REST API works the same way. You search for something, get a list of results back from the service you're requesting it from. For us in WordPress, that means our database. So we can pull users, we can pull posts, all of that, without having to constantly go through multiple steps. So read this, understand it. It's awesome. And again, from Smashing Magazine, whom I love, I just want to give them a big old hug for the amount that they helped my life. So, the last thing under I guess I did put it under tutorials. Maybe it's under resources in yours. So let's just start out. This might be resources. This might be tutorials, because I think I may have adjusted this. I wanted to bring this up. It's a WooCommerce link where they're talking about the how saying no when you're talking to clients or in a business meeting can actually get you more work. And this is something that I've noticed as well, and I thought it was really important. And I was waffling, as you can tell, on putting it between the tutorials or the resources section, because it really fits into both. It kind of straddles that line where this is a how-to on how to get more work in a lot of ways, on how to present yourself in meetings and with clients, and how to do this. And it's also a resource that you can go to, because they're highlighting talks that were presented at WooConf, which is one of the other big WordPress conferences that is specifically tailored around WooCommerce and e-commerce. They say that your default in general when someone is trying to hire you is to say yes. That is absolutely true. They're like, hey, I want you to do this job and I'm going to give you money. And your response to that is, oh, you're going to give me money. Yes. But that's not always necessarily the best thing. They walk you through this on different aspects of it. Some people, when you have to say no to your clients if you're not qualified for a project. You don't want to take something on that you shouldn't be doing. Not that you couldn't do. I'm not saying that you can't, but that you shouldn't be doing. There's a big difference here. it starts by, why are they not asking why they're not using their internal team for this? If they're, why aren't they going with a cheaper option? And if they try to get you to go cheaper than you can, you telling them no. That way, you don't seem desperate. It lets them see more value in you. It is purely psychological on that end. It's also psychological on yours because, you're holding yourself to a higher standard and valuing yourself. And I just saw a comment. I hate to interrupt myself here. I saw a comment saying this is good stuff on a Friday night. That LV is gonna have to delay going out so that you can read all of this. I'm so sorry to hurt your social life like this. I'm fairly certain that all of us have been distracted from going out by reading so many cool articles, and I'm sorry that I have to be the one to destroy your social life. Usually I only destroy mine. But going back to the article, I wanted to make sure that you guys, especially you freelancers, because this can work in a professional or corporate atmosphere as well. But I really wanted to point this out because they get to a point down in the middle of it saying that you're not Indiana Jones. That Indiana Jones goes out and you go into the wilderness and he returns with treasure. And that's such a wonderful metaphor for doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. Like if you're a front-end developer and they're asking you to do some back-end stuff that you can probably pull off, but you shouldn't be the one pulling it off. They say that you're Gandalf because Gandalf is awesome and he does amazing things. He fights demons, they say, and he works in a team. And that's something that a lot of us forget, especially when we're freelancing, is that we can still work as a part of a team. They say that, collaborating with these clients is awesome. And yes, you can write a good proposal, but you share it and you work through it together, that you go back and forth. And that's not designed by committee. That's just outlining the basics of this job. And saying no, the last headline I want to talk about is saying no isn't about making your clients audition. They're not auditioning to you, though you do have the ability to fire them at any point because they're not employing you technically. I wanted to make sure that this isn't an ego boost for you, that saying no shouldn't be just about making yourself seem valuable. It should be about helping both yourself and that client get the most value out of the relationship that you can. I've been in a not corporate so much, but educational atmosphere before where I said yes to everything. It wore me down as well. Like I was pulling 80, 90 hour weeks, and because I said yes to literally everything that they were asking of me for extracurriculars, and it like I said, just completely broke me. And when I learned to say no, the quality of work that I was able to do in the regular portions of my job, the stuff that I really cared about and excelled at, got so much better. Oh, excuse me. I had a frog in my throat. And ribbit. Sorry, I'm so sorry. So sorry, you guys. I had to. Dad joke forever. Dad jokes forever. And I'm not a dad. I just tell bad jokes. But my train of thought just left. But like I said, my quality of work got so much better when I was able to work on the stuff that I cared about and was good at, because I turned down the stuff that I knew was only going to be pulling at me from a direction I didn't need to be pulled at. So check out the WooCommerce article about saying no, because it will not only get you a how to do this and give you some examples, but also just get your mind thinking about that for the next few times you have meetings like this. Matthew in the comments on YouTube says that he's starting to turn down clients who insist on using tools I'm not at my best with, or themes that I need a million plugins to work. I have to say that I'm proud of you because that is a very hard thing to do. When I've recommended I've recommended themes to people, Divi specifically, as well as Ultimatum and Visual Composer to people as well, and they wanted to go with something else, and it became very hard. Like, it actually got hard to work with the tools that they wanted to, and I wasn't in a place financially at that point where I could turn them down, but right now I probably would. So, I'm there. I feel you. It's awesome, especially with the amount of plugins. When you need a million plugins to work, I'm the kind of guy who doesn't want to have a million plugins going. If you can do it with some PHP, a couple of lines of code, that's what I go for specifically. Felicia in the Facebook comments says, "It's been a while since WordCamp." Hi, Felicia. How are you doing? I just want to say hi, too. I'm glad you're able to join in. I met Felicia at WordCamp Birmingham in Alabama, and she told me that everybody in Denver gets a puppy when you cross the border and you move there. So if you're not, if you don't live in Colorado, apparently you need to go because they hand out free puppies and you get to take them everywhere. You don't actually get free puppies, but apparently people in Colorado love dogs and let them go everywhere. Felicia taught me that. So thank you, Felicia. Thank you for joining in as well. So moving into the resources section, I wanted to point out this really cool article that WPMU Dev did that why you need to look at your competitors' WordPress themes and plugins. I think this is awesome because this is something that one of my favorite books on creativity is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. I think that's how he pronounces his name, is Kleon. But if you haven't read this book, I highly suggest it. And I think that you need to look at what other people are doing to make sure that you're still on your game. I am not proposing that you go out and you copy everything that your competitors do. That's stealing, and that's intellectual property theft, first of all, and it's plagiarism, says the English teacher. There's another, but it's something that you need to be able to know what's up. I mean, you have to be able to know what's out there. You can then take what they're doing and make it better. Look. Honestly, and this is not a knock against Gutenberg, but look at Gutenberg and Divi. Gutenberg does one thing, Divi does the next better thing. Gutenberg does good. 2.0 is actually pretty good. I've been working with it a little bit on my personal sites, but I still go back to Divi because it does the next step up, and like the next 18 steps up, actually. But that's my personal opinion. But it's something that you have to keep an eye on. I have to keep an eye on Gutenberg. I have to know what's coming up because, technically it is a competitor. They're talking about, you also discover that other plugins and themes are actually good. Like I said, Gutenberg is doing good things. And if they're doing good things, then you have to know how to make yours better. And you can also see things that don't work, kind of like Matthew was talking about in the comments on YouTube a minute ago on your, turning down clients because they're not best with themes. It's like you see what's wrong with these themes. You see what's wrong with these other plugins, and you can look at it and be like, oh, well, I need to avoid doing that. You look at the reviews of competitors and you see what pain points people are having so that they don't have those pain points with yours. Everybody does this, and this is not corporate espionage. This is not something that you that you have any kind should feel ethically bad about doing. This is just kind of something that we do. I hate that it's got such a bad rap. I mean, they talk about looking at the source code of these websites, using a website called Built With. There's a WP theme detector. I like WP theme detector, first of all, because I'll see something that I like. I'll dig through the source code, and if I can't figure out what theme they're running, I will go to WP theme detector and see if it can tell me what they're running. It's also really funny when I'm like, oh, I really like what they've done, and I go and look at it, it's like, they use Divi. And I'm like, of course they did. But it's like I can't find anything to take from there. And by take, I mean I want to know, like, go look at this stuff. But when someone does something well, its imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and it's a cliche for a reason. So look at your competitors. Don't be ashamed of doing that. And that is at the very top of the resources page. So I want you to go, and I want you, like Austin Kleon says, to steal like an artist. The next one that I had on the resources section is Shopify versus e-commerce. WP Beginner just looks at both of them. I'm not going to go through this because I am not I'm not an e-commerce guy. I do not deal in this, and honestly, I would just mess everything up if I tried to explain this one. So go look because you're going to have to explain this to a client at some point. Somebody's going to ask you why you need to go with WooCommerce and why they don't just set up a Shopify, or vice versa, that they're tired of WooCommerce and is there a better option? And maybe there is and maybe there isn't for them, but WordCommerce, WooCommerce, and Shopify are the two, they're the two 700-pound gorillas, the 700-pound gorillas in the room, and you need to know about them. So go read that, so that or just take this link and show it to your clients. That's also possible, but either way, it will let them know that you know what you're talking about. So moving on, looking at the comments, I see Felicia said she's a big-time Divi theme person. I know, that's why you're awesome. Hi, Roy from Litchfield, Kentucky. That's awesome. Love to have other Southern people on here. Maybe my drawl doesn't sound so different to you as it does to some people. And Current Media Group in the YouTube comments and live chat says they're turning down website development that they don't host. Oh, that it always turns into a nightmare dealing with poor hosts. I hear that a lot, actually. I've heard that a lot with people using local hosts, and I don't mean like on their own computer, but a lot of small hosts that I know are great, but they if they ever go belly up, I had a few clients at WordCamp telling me that they lost a lot of time on trying to recover and deal with hosts that they couldn't get in touch with. The support was gone, the backups weren't there, that there was just a problem once that kind of thing happened, and that wasn't even dealing with them. They were good while they lasted, so I can't even imagine how much of a nightmare it is dealing when they actually don't work right, when they don't do things well. So I really can't say I blame you for that. That it's especially the backups. The backups are what they were talking about, because they were having to do transfers. Something messed up with transfer. Some of the files were missing, and they couldn't go back, and it was just blah. So I think the only way that you can actually put that into words is blah sometimes. So I think you know what I'm talking about out there, guys. Moving forward down the links, Yoast put out, which I love Yoast, by the way. Always got to give a shout out. There's a couple of Yoast links on here that I really want to talk about before we get done. And the first one is simply, what is UX and why bother? Those longtime viewers of me know that I have to get into UX at least once every stream here, and this one is really where I want to dig in today. UX is user experience. That we are designing and developing web pages for people that we are not designing these pages for machines to crawl. We are not making these very basic 1990s web pages that are just walls of text for Google search algorithms that are stuffed with keywords. We're doing user experience more than anything else. We want people to feel comfortable on our sites. We want people to use our sites and know how to use our sites and spend time there and want to come back. So that is all user experience, and that's what you need to focus on. The problem is that sometimes user experience doesn't necessarily equate to good SEO, and sometimes good SEO may make a bad user experience, and bad SEO may make a good user experience. I may have said the same thing 4 times there because I didn't think that through all the way. So just think, you know what I'm talking about. But one of the main thing about this article is looking at people as people and not discounting the importance of well-structured websites. That Google is starting to look at how you use the website as they crawl it. It's not fully there yet, of course, because it's only been happening the last, I want to say year that they've been really looking at this. But the mobile site, are the buttons in the right places, all of this stuff. Yoast goes through it, read it. User experience, mega important. I had LV say that I froze on their screen. I'm looking at the stream just to see if it does on mine. Everything is showing good stream health on here. Hopefully that's just a fluke on there. Let me know if it happens. Hopefully the sound will keep coming through. And one of the last things, there's a lot of resources on here. I cannot get to all of them in the time that I've got left. So let me point out the one that I want you guys to go read right now. Or, well, not right now. I want you to listen to me for right now. Is learning Git. And as a Southerner, I say Git. I say Git a lot. We're like, Git. We're not all like that, but I can promise you that I've said that more than my fair share. It is showing on YouTube that I'm back from loading right now. I don't know what else I can do. It says the stream health is green. So let me move this up just a little bit. The article, like I said, I want you to read is called Learn Git for Free with Git Code School. Git is hard. Git is confusing, and one of my favorite articles that I've ever written on the Elegant Themes blog is a beginner's guide to Git, because like I said, last year I had to learn about relative CSS like VH, REM, and all of this. I also had to learn Git a little bit earlier than that, and transferring from being an English teacher and a learning center administrator to a software developer, and just learning out of the box on my own self-taught Git, my brain kind of exploded occasionally. So look at my article on the Elegant Themes blog, first of all, because, self-promotion, and also look at this WP Shout article that talks about learning Git from Git for free, because the guy's called the Git School dude, and you can't go wrong with someone who calls themselves the Git School dude. I bet this dude knows Git and can school us in Git. So check this out. You need to know Git. It's super important. That said, the SEO basics down at the bottom of the resources page, at the very bottom, if you look at the description of this video and you go all the way down, you're going to see one called SEO Basics, What is Search Intent? And this is almost as important as user experience, because when we're coming up with keywords, when we're thinking about this a lot, we don't, a lot of times we're like, oh, okay, I need to do keywords for chapstick, for Burt's Bees lip balm. It's like, chapstick. I love chapstick, by the way, Vanilla Bean. It's the way to go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do chapstick. And, but that would be the keyword that we're looking for, right? It's like chapstick. But that doesn't take into the intent of that search. That Yoast goes through a lot of what the intent that readers come for, why exactly they're coming to your site. And there are 4 types of search intent. They say informational intent, what is chapstick? Navigational intent, where people are trying to get to a specific website, that they may be trying to search for chapstick.com, but instead they just type in chapstick. The people who type Facebook in to find the Facebook link in Google and then click it. Everybody has someone who does that, I know. There's transactional intent, chapstick, to be able to buy the chapstick. And then there's commercial investigation, where you want to see what comes up when you type that, what chapstick is the best. You're looking for that kind of thing. And that is commercial investigation it talks about. And so it's really, really, really important that you structure with long tail keywords and structure your content to know what kind of intent you're trying to bring your audience in for. Like I do a lot with like running shoes and asthma and stuff like that, and I want to have someone come to my site, so that they will know specifically that, yes, you can be a runner if you have asthma, because I am. That's something that I'm giving this informational intent to them. Like, can you run run with asthma? And I'm like, yeah, you can, and here's how. That kind of thing. Because once again, we're treating people like people. We're not treating them like a keyword monster. I don't know why I say keyword monster, a keyword crawler. We're optimizing our content for the people who are actually going to come there. That I'm not going to be able, if someone's searching for running inhaler asthma or something, I'm not going to be able to help them like as an online pharmacy or like WebMD, but my content can help them from a personal level, looking and then give them, as I told my students years ago, as a springboard to other content. It's kind of like you can use Wikipedia in an academic article, academic research, but you don't use it as what you're citing. You use it as a springboard toward other content. Or as those of us who spend all day on the internet know, it's that Wikipedia click hole where it's like eventually you just click every link and you end up on something terribly inappropriate, and you're like, and your boss is over your shoulder, and it's like that's what your website needs to be, the knowing what people are there for. So that is at the very, very, very bottom of the resources section in the description of this video. I looked at as I was about to have to close everything up, I was looking at the comments. I'm glad that in Germany, Sasha says that the resolution's great. Hi to Germany. Hi, Sasha. I took 3 years of German, and about the only thing I can say in German is ich bin in die Uni gegangen, and that is roughly it. So now you know. But also, and I probably said that completely wrong. So Torrin says that as a Londoner, you say get. And I can't do a British accent. I can't do an English accent, so it's just gonna come across as me like hiccuping like that. And then you can't try to post a stream to the site. Can't edit it. Not sure. Oh no, Judy's saying that you can't post a link. I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe try again. I don't know. But you guys, I'm out of time. I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say that you're awesome. And I wanted to say that we will be back every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, so that we can do this, so that we can talk, we can get to know each other. I can say really ridiculous things in German and like make a real fool out of myself, because that's what this is. I want the This Week in WordPress stream to be where we're friends, where we're talking, and like you guys have helped people out in the comments today, that's what I want. So I hope that you guys have had a fantastic stream. I have. I hope that you can get some use out of a few of these articles at the very least. So remember, this video will be on Facebook and YouTube, archived very shortly after this has been after this goes offline, after I stop streaming here. And I hope, and so will all of the links to the video that are in the description as well. So you'll be able to click on all of those. And remember, you can go all the way back to August to be able to see all of the other links that have been done. So that's it for This Week in WordPress. I hope to see you guys again next week. And bye, Felicia. See what I did?